There is a real feel of autumn in the air, and the autumn flowers are coming. The nights are cooling, the ground temperature is dropping. There's a real temperature gradient which will trigger the bulbs. Meanwhile, the cyananthus continues to flower. Here we can compare the flowers of microphyllus with this form that is a lobatus. So two different species there. So the microphyllus at this end, the lobatus here at this end, and up here we have smaller leaf, the microphyllus still going, and plenty more buds. These will continue to flower throughout the autumn until the winter frosts come and really start cutting it back. Down here we've got still also flowering away. I showed it earlier, but flowering away, feeding the bees. Look here, if I go in, there's a bee, missed them. So these will continue to produce flowers all through. Lots of flowers down there in the Hypericum reptans, crawling and running over the end there. So these will continue to delight us over the period, producing their flowers. Here we have seed heads on the Dactylarhizas. All this seed, you can try sowing it, but unless you're going to do it in laboratory type conditions, it won't work. So just let the seed scatters around, and it will grow. Talking of bees and autumn flowers, if we come round past to the swing seat where we spend hours sitting, here's a Himalayan clematis. We grew this from seed that was collected by our friend Alistair McKelvey, who sadly passed away just a few months ago. And when we sit as we sit in the swing seat, it's just a buzz of bees pollinating, because if I can reach up and point it along the top, you can see the masses of flowers, and if I'm quiet you might hear the bees. So that's going all the way up. We cut this one right to the ground, and all this growth comes in a single season, so it's one of these that as it dies back in the winter I'll cut it right back. So where are we in the rest of the garden? Meconopsis, we've collected all the seeds and tidy up. The fresh leaf growth, you see, there's the old leaves there. All the fresher leaves will produce the next year's growth and next year's flower stems, so they're feeding the underground part, the self-seeding ones here. Round past Eucomis, sitting next to the Bowles golden grass. This is a real a nice combination, isn't it? So we come down, you've got the Eucomis bicolour with these extraordinary coloured stems rising up, native of South Africa, but thoroughly hardy here. We've been growing that for over 30 years. Over the back there, some different colchicums, Meconopsis that I've yet to cut back. So there's different two different colchicums cultivars together there, and that's what we're seeing all over the garden, the colchicums appearing. I can see another one popping up in here, look. So they're starting to appear. Likewise, cyclamen are popping up everywhere. Little cyclamen. We don't have the sheets of cyclamen that I see people further south in warmer parts of the UK. But what we do have is they appear everywhere. We have little plants popping up everywhere. So the rock garden bed is, the autumn flowering stuff's not appeared there yet. If we come round, more colchicums here. Really nice this time of year to have these flowers. very delicate in a sense that they don't have a stem. This is all just a floral tube. It's just part of the flower. There is no stem as such. It all sits underground. So they're very susceptible to being battered by the wind and rain and getting knocked over. But when they come, they're beautiful. They are popping up through the grey dicentra leaves. It's a real delight to have them when many of the beds are going back. Come round here to one of the plants of Veratrum fimbriatum. This is a Californian native. We've been trying it in the garden for a few years now, and it's proven hardy. It survived all our winters, but then I would qualify that by saying we've not had a typically severe winter like we can get. They've been relatively mild, so these typical Veratrum leaves, and if we come up excuse me, these incredibly fimbriate, which means fringe, fringe to the edge, and you can see how these flowers are, but so beautiful. This lovely fimbriatum. So it's something different to bring into the garden at this time of year. They're growing alongside a Podophyllum delaviei leaf, and if I look through there past this leaf, you can see more Colchicums. So while many things in the garden are starting to go down, some things are showing promise. So there's some more seed. There's some seed of Fritillarias just about ready to open. Ideal time for sowing it now as well. So I'll probably just scatter that in a bed where I want it. So if we move round, let's just move round to update you on the new bed. We'll go through the gate. So I'm really starting to plant it up. The new bed, the rockwork construction is now finished. I'm happy with how it looks. The rest of the design is really the planting, the soft landscaping as they call it. So the plants, so there's plenty of them. I'm getting a few evergreen, dwarf evergreen stuff going to go in, so there will be an evergreen cover, but I'm putting in lots of the smaller bulbs. And I've resolved the area that was causing me a problem was this area at this corner between these two troughs. And I wasn't happy with how it looked. It just sort of finished with this rock here. So it finished with that, and then I decided to continue the crevice down onto the slabs. And I'm really happy with how it looks now, because it just looks like that's a jutta rock and crevice rock breaking out between the troughs. I've planted Saxifraga cochlearia minor and Primula marginata. This is a dwarf form called Napoleon, both of which can take fairly dry conditions once they root in. So I'll just make sure that they're well watered and rooted before they go, because this little outcrop is sitting on top of this concrete slab, so there's very little soil there. I've yet to finish planting up this trough, but that works into the rest of the bed. So we head on round. Past the back of the peat wall, the high end. There's some Echinopsis here. Still seed heads still to be cut back, tidied up. There's Erythronium seed heads. Still a bit of seed left. But I think I'll come round here past more cyclamen popping up everywhere. White ones, pink ones. But let's finish on the stars of the show at the moment. Are these the earliest of the Colchicums to come up and flower? This is always one of the first in the garden. there's many more forms that will pop up in coming weeks. But really nice to have them at this time of year, and the bees and the hoverflies also appreciate the food supply. So it works for us and it works for the wildlife in the garden as well.